This decade saw some remarkable changes in the way we eat. From niche dietary restrictions that became mainstream to people lining up for hours for the latest Instagram-friendly dessert craze. Let's take a look at the most notable food trends of the past decade. Perhaps the purest way to punch up food from eggs to chicken wings is to add some spice. Sure, hot sauce has been around for forever, but going into 2010, Bon Appetit magazine named sriracha the ingredient of the year, and we launched into the new decade with a newfound taste for the next big hot sauce.
The last 10 years have been great for hot sauce because we've seen the establishment of what was really a nascent craft hot sauce movement, where a lot of people who had started out working at farmers markets have now established brands that are on the scene. Craft hot sauce is here to stay.
Listen, if you do cook at home a lot, you need a good hot sauce.
You can add spice and flavor at the same time, and that is the beauty of the hot sauce revolution. Hot sauce grew almost 25% between 2013 and 2017, with $700 million in sales in 2018. 41% of those sales were from independent producers, so it's clear we've come a long way from a bottle of Tabasco, and our mouths have never been happier, while still on fire.
That's so hot.
That's so hot! I love the fact that you can eat a hot sauce and have absolutely no idea where it's gonna take you. That we are expanding our flavor profiles, our palates, people.
Your mom would be so disappointed, and you and my mom would be so proud.
This is a trend that I will stand by until I die.
The mall food court was never glamorous and has gone increasingly out of favor as mall traffic in general has declined. But the 2010s have gradually replaced the notion with upscale, aesthetically pleasing food halls, trucks, and stalls that give you a really good sampling of the food that particular city has to offer. No more plastic trays covered in Panda Express or Buffalo Wild Wings.
When you step into a food hall, you're like stepping into Blockbuster when you are 6 and the movie options are limitless.
Everyone you're with can get whatever they want. No one has to argue. No one has to waste time being indecisive. You just go to this one place and they have all these options.
The 2008 recession also contributed to the rise of food trucks, with customers looking for cheaper food and restaurant owners looking for a less risky overhead.
Food trucks are a really good way for people to incubate and get their ideas out there and kind of get their foot in the door.
With food truck and stall markets like Smorgasburg in New York and Los Angeles, and Off the Grid in San Francisco, people can experience the food hall vibe and try out plates from a hodgepodge of vendors.
I'm kind of known for getting a lot of little things and then trying it and then moving on. Maybe a small meal here, and then you can cross the street or like cross the hall and then get another small thing, and then you can have like a collection of a variety of foods.
The food truck industry as a whole has grown nearly 7% each year between 2014 and 2019, with vendors taking advantage of the rise in popularity to try out new concepts, building a fan base before investing in a brick and mortar.
Maybe someday all of like the big empty parking lots across Middle America will be turned into big food truck emporiums.
What a dream.
10 years ago, naming the protein found in most grains was more of a trivia question than a diet restriction for most Americans, but is often based in serious health concerns.
I have a cousin who has celiac, and this was a kind of before the time when it really blew up, gluten-free options. And I remember back in the day, she had a really difficult time finding viable options.
Even though only about 1% of Americans have celiac, an autoimmune disease that attacks the small intestine when ingesting gluten, there are a range of less serious gluten intolerances. A host of celebrities, from Gwyneth Paltrow to Lady Gaga, also spoke out about their wheat-free diets. The newfound interest in these foods has led to a 2019 market for gluten-free products valued at $9.5 billion, up from $2.5 billion in 2010, with gluten-free products lining shelves and forcing restaurants to make gluten-free alternatives available on menus. And if you thought the world was winding down from gluten-free diets, think again. If there's one food this decade has really managed to sink its creativity into, it's desserts crossed with, well, other desserts.
A hybrid dessert essentially combines two things in one. So it can be two desserts in one, or it can be a croissant with an everything bagel seasoning and cream cheese inside, which this place called Daily Provisions does, and it's really good.
We've seen cake pops, cronuts, bronuts, crepe cakes, cookie and milk shots, churro cones, macaroon ice cream sandwiches, bubble waffles. Truly, the list goes on and on and on.
People are always going to try to be innovative with what they're making, and combining two things that you know works is just smart.
Charcuterie started hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and that was just the art of preserving meat.
Gone are the days of sad plates of processed cheddar and crackers at your auntie's parties.
Charcuterie is the art of doing like prepared and cured meats with cheeses and like nuts and crackers and fruit on like a beautiful wooden board and then serving it to all of your friends.
It used to be just a regular platter of like some, you know, day-old cheese and old meats and just pepperonis thrown on a plate. And now we have all of the add-ons. We have the special mustards, we have the special sauces.
I love when people add fruit, like dried fruit. That's a really good addition. That's like, I don't see too often.
It's an art form and I appreciate it, and I don't want to eat it because I don't want to ruin it. But then I eat it because it's really good.
When I walk into a party and I see a good charcuterie board, I'm excited because I know that the host like put time into making that.
By far, the last 10 years have been the best decade for charcuterie in America. And it's just, if you compare it to 30 years ago, it's easily 5 or 10 times as large as it was.
Another major diet trend of the decade was an increased focus on vegetarian and plant-based products. The 2010s brought us more awareness of animal cruelty, climate change, and health awareness, all of which contributed to this rise. No, that doesn't mean you're bound to see more humans taking vegan on dating apps. The actual number of American vegans is still around 3%, but a whole lot more people are incorporating meat-free alternatives into their diets.
I'm definitely like a fan of like cutting down the amount of meat and dairy that people eat, mostly for environmental purposes. I like both.
Between 2017 and 2018, sales of vegan foods increased 10 times more than food sales as a whole, with Beyond Meat burgers and Impossible foods on the menu at food chains like KFC, Dunkin', and Burger King.
I eat halal, and that means I have to eat meat that's basically blessed in a certain way. So not many places in the United States serve halal food, and therefore veganism and the vegan movement has actually really helped me. You want more from your food.
Exactly, and I feel like now within the last 10 years, since it's taken off, my vegan friends can eat, at least in cities, can eat almost anywhere. Because there's always an option that's like a well-cooked vegan option.
Sales of substitute meat went up 451% in Europe in just 4 years. So while you may not encounter many more vegans in the wild, flexitarians, or people who eat meat products in moderation, is set to be the new foodie hashtag of the decade. In generations past, milk meant something that came from a cow, was bottled, and ended up on your doorstep. But these days, whether it's in a carton at your grocery store or whipped into a latte at a cafe, you're probably going to have to specify when you ask for milk.
Let's see how many milks we can name in the next 10 seconds.
Macadamia.
Rice.
Soy.
Almond. Cashew. Coconut.
Humans have been making quote-unquote milk for centuries, but sales of non-dairy milk have more than doubled in the last decade. So much so that cow's milk producers are petitioning the Food and Drug Administration to debate whether or not something can even be called milk without coming from an animal that lactates. The double down on oat, soy, coconut, and other milk alternatives is another trend that derives in part from environmental awareness and the rise of flexitarianism. Cow's milk requires a lot of land, water, and fertilizer to generate, not to mention cow's methane outputs.
Flat flavored water, I feel like is disgusting. Bubbly flavored water,
It adds a little zest.
Seltzer may be a fancy way of saying water with bubbles, but this very simple beverage is a $2.3 billion industry. Add some alcohol to the can and you have yourself a can of hard seltzer.
It's $12.59, so I'm drinking a LaCroix.
The problem I have is White Claw taking over all of the beer shelves in the bodegas and trying to pretend that you're a legitimate substitute for beer, because you're not.
Okay, well, first of all, there's plenty of beers. Like, there's so much room for beer. Like, it's fine if they take up a few shelves, you know?
I only drink hard seltzer. It really doesn't give me as bad of a hangover. I would rather have this than a beer. Like, I like that it only has 100 calories.
Competition to become the most beloved seltzer has taken LaCroix, Truly, White Claw, and more to spin out both regular and alcoholic cans of bubbly water. Even Four Loko is getting in on the game.
I think it's interesting now, though, that these are available in bars, because for a while they weren't. Things that go in and out of style really quickly, they don't bring into bars.
I think if beer companies invest in seltzer, they're gonna make a lot more money.
Chef Alice Waters is credited with starting the farm-to-table restaurant movement back in the 70s, and it wasn't until this decade that it became commonplace, with urban farming making it easier for people to access locally grown produce. Coastal chains like Sweetgreen have made locally sourced food the norm, listing where each ingredient is farmed, giving us the sweet satisfaction of at least thinking we know where our food is coming from.
They have on the menu like the exact farm everything came from. This meat, these vegetables are all in season and came straight from the farm.
You know, even Five Guys has where our potatoes come from for our chips.
Yeah. Our generation as well has like shifted to a bigger focus on knowing where your food comes from and also being healthier with the options you choose.
Although CBD has had a huge boom in the last few years, it's obviously not new. In fact, the first documented use of cannabis-derived products for medicinal purposes dates back to 2737 BC.
CBD is a naturally occurring compound of the cannabis and the hemp plant. And the hemp plant, although has a very low level of THC, predominantly has a non-psychoactive compound. It's been shown to really help with anxiety, inflammation, pain.
How do you feel about CBD?
I love it. CBD is great because it just helps enhance that relaxation factor. I know people use it for different things and you could do it in a number of different ways. You can drink it, you can eat it.
They have chocolate, they have candy, and there's so much different variety.
With the legalization of marijuana for recreational use in 11 states and for medical use in 33 states, public opinion of hemp-based products has seen a swift shift. And as a result, companies have been more apt to start producing dosed foods. CBD in food and drink is still illegal in some states, but that hasn't stopped companies from selling it.
There are, prescription medicinal benefits, there are everyday benefits, and the science continues to get better. And we're wrapping it up in a nice presentation so you could take it, on a daily basis and enjoy it.